One of the things that's obviously been coming up a ton over the interim is historical horse racing. You know, that's obviously passed in the Senate. I know that's important to you when you're not speaker. I'm kind of curious. I mean, do you think that that bill has a shot of passing the House? Where do you think it stands among your members with all these new members who have come in?
There's active conversation about it. Certainly, I don't speak as the speaker on this, but I personally support it. I think that it is getting a lot of attention, and it's a significant issue. These are existing jobs. These are existing investments that are ongoing in Kentucky. This is, usually when we have had the discussion about and around gambling issues, it's always been perspective about some of the things that could be done. And this is a different issue. These are real jobs, real lives, real economic impacts. Be interested to see what the Senate does. I understand there's a chance that they could move that as early as the first of the week. So we'll wait and have that. We'll continue to have conversations with our members about it.
Does the fact that like Red Mile has had to close, does that give you a sense of urgency in passing something?
I don't think that urgency is the right word. I think that anything that impacts the economy of Kentucky, that especially during this time in this environment, anything that threatens jobs takes precedence and is very important. I don't think, I try not to use urgent just because I think sometimes that gets crossways with what good long-term, well-thought-out policy is. But certainly it rises to the level that it needs to be addressed quickly.
And then with that, there's a lot of talk about increasing the taxes on historical horse racing because it would be a way to get a lot more revenue for the state without necessarily passing a different type of wagering bill. Are you personally open to that, and have you seen movement among
I think we'll continue to have conversations about that. I don't believe that. I think that there are two questions. I think one is a policy side of the actual policy itself, the historical horse racing policy, and changing that definition. I think that the tax rate side of it is a different conversation. It will be more of a budget question than anything. But yes, I believe that there's some openness to having those conversations.
Just to clarify about your caucus, you don't have any sense yet of whether a majority of your caucus supports the bill.
We've talked to our members. We had significant conversations. I think I know where many, if not most of them, stand. But we've done nothing public about that at this point.
Would it need the support of the majority of your caucus in order to get?
Certainly, we will consider our caucus's input into any decision that we make.
In Franklin's report this morning, obviously we're talking about the governor's lawsuit. Is it your impression that while SB1 does not immediately cancel out this year's orders and there's a 30-day waiting period, do you think that HB1 is in effect right now, that people can follow CDC guidelines if they were lower than the governor's orders? Do you think that's in place right now?
I think if they are currently prohibited from operating, then yes, it would impact them.
What about beyond just prohibiting? What about affecting how they're able to operate, but they have some capacity limits?
Again, I think if they are prohibiting from operating in a level that other guidelines suggest that they can operate safely, then yes, it would. As far as, do they immediately have to start following some new protocol? No, they don't.
Well, so I want to press on this one. Like, if I'm Dudley's in Lexington and have a gigantic space where I can fit a lot of people while social distancing, but I'm still limited to 50% capacity because of the governor, am I allowed to open the doors to fill up as many tables as I have socially distanced tables in my restaurant?
It would depend on whether you're complying with other regulations that are in place.
Is House Bill 1 pretty much just set in, can you all go back and amend that based on?
Of course we can.
You can?
Whatever passes last will become the law, or will be the law. Yes, we can amend anything up until March the 30th, and whatever version passes last will be what will be the prevailing law.
If this judge issues this temporary injunction, how will that impact going forward what takes place?
We will have to address that as it comes, and depending upon what it looks like, it would be impossible to anticipate what directive he might give as part of that.
I have a scheduling question about the budget. When are we expected to see something come public in the budget?
Not as soon as I'd hoped, quite frankly. It has been a much more arduous process to try to comb through the budget than we had, I think, previously imagined. Just trying to understand the different federal programs, the flexibility that we're allowed with CARES money has been a much more difficult process. And I think that the other thing that we have tried to look at very, very seriously is how much we are willing to risk on the numbers. I think that all of us have an incredible amount of respect for the consensus forecasting group, the work that they do, and the science that they stand behind. But even one of the members of the consensus forecasting group likened it to throwing darts at a dartboard. I think that everybody is encouraged that our revenue numbers have not fallen more than they have. But does that give me great confidence that those numbers are not going to fall? And I think that everybody has those very, very legitimate concern. When we know that thousands of businesses have closed, that there are 125,000 less people working in Kentucky now than there were a year ago, those are things that we know have very real impacts on the revenues that are coming into the state. So how cautious we proceed is really kind of a philosophical back and forth that we've tried to find some reasonable balance on, and that's not an easy thing to find, because I think everyone will acknowledge that there are investments we would love to make in Kentucky and in Kentucky's economy, things that we need to do, but also understanding the importance of being fiscally responsible. The last thing in the world we want to do is pass a budget, fall short on those revenue projections, and then immediately have to start dialing things back.
Representative Massey's bill changing the pension benefits for new teacher hires, that's up in committee tomorrow. What's the sentiment of the caucus on that bill?
Pretty positive so far. I will tell you, I just have to give Representative Massey all the credit in the world on how he has put this work group together, how he has brought together stakeholders, and I give him a great deal of credit for us actually being able to have a reasoned conversation around this topic. And I think that it's got very significant support in our caucus, and I would be surprised if it doesn't have some support in the minority caucus.
Is that also with the House Bill 8, the quasi-pension bill that's up in the caucus tomorrow, or committee tomorrow? Is there similar support on the caucus for that?
I think there's significant support in the caucus, yes. That's very similar to a bill that we passed last year. So.
My last one was just revenue. Stimulus for businesses. Is there any? Have you guys made any progress on talking about stimulus for businesses?
Again, continuing to talk about how we can most effectively get assistance to help businesses restore their business models. It's an ongoing conversation.